Welcome to CRE Unplugged. I'm your co-host, Ryan Elazari, and today's episode is a special one. I'm here with my co-host, Nadine Ezzie, and we set out to have real and honest conversations about where commercial real estate was going, not where the industry pretends it's going. And Nadine brought such a perspective to the mic that I don't think anyone in commercial real estate was bringing a lawyer's outlook onto the industry and not hiding behind these buzzwords. So today is her farewell episode, and I'm so happy that I get to do this and to, like, for the last time, call her my co-host. So Nadine, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Ryan. That's kind of weird to say. Thank you for having me. And it's bittersweet, brother. It's bittersweet. But yeah, who would have thought we would have brought it this far when we started this 2 years ago? Is that right?
Yeah, I don't think we talked much about like the origin of like how we decided to do all this. I think that's something that was so interesting was we were part of the NAIOP forum on technology, and they usually have like a dinner before you meet for the forum, and we ended up sitting next to each other at the dinner, and we were just like kind of talking and sharing our backgrounds because we're both have similar backgrounds, similar stories about our families. And I think from there we kind of realized that we had a lot to share to the world. And right, don't you think like there's a lot that needed to be said about commercial real estate in the innovation, technology, human side that I know that you talked about, that we'll talk about later, that really wasn't being talked about when we first met?
No, I agree. And I think we were onto something when by the end of the dinner, everybody at the table was like, what are you two talking about over there? Hands were flying, right? I know, right? I mean, because we're very animated when we get into something. And yeah, everybody at the table it got a little jealous as to what it was that we were cooking over there. And we said, we got to do this. And we did. And I'm so glad that we did. We've had some amazing conversations with extraordinary people from all across our industry, candid conversations, smart conversations, funny conversations. And, we also got to know the people as well behind the roles. And I think that was one of the coolest parts of this as well. And, we get a lot of feedback from people about our interviews and, getting a little personal with people. Getting to know the human side of them. You've seen all the emails we get. People feel like they can relate more, and that's what we set out to do, was to kind of break down that wall in between everybody and to just make information more accessible, more enjoyable. And I'm really proud that we started it and brought it this far. And I've been a little MIA these last couple months working on some things, and you have just carried the torch beautifully. And I have no doubts that CRE Unplugged is in the best of hands with you going forward.
Thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you. And I will carry the torch, and I'll continue with these incredible interviews that we've had. It will be a little different because I don't get to talk and banter with you about our moms, because this is the only part that my mom would listen to. Afterwards, she would always be like, I can't listen to your interviews. Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. So
was she listening to see if you were talking about her? Was she checking it? She's probably just checking in. She's probably just seeing what the hell's he talking about this time.
Yeah.
Okay, good. He didn't say anything. I can turn it off.
It's funny you bring that up, because she actually a few weeks ago, I put up a story about a Passover dinner, and in our culture, you hit each other with scallions in the middle of the Seder, they call it. And I put up a video of like all of us hitting each other with scallions, and she messaged me, I'm not kidding, 2 weeks after, being like, hey, can you take that video down?
Why
I'm
did
like,
she want it down? Why did
I'm
she
like,
want
in this story, it's gone.
it? It's
It's
already
not there.
down. It was down.
She goes, I know, but your uncle told me that it's still up. I'm like, no, it's not up, it's not down. Nor would I have taken it down. Yeah.
Oh God. But wait, did she ever did she listen to the episode where you talk about getting arrested for the weed?
I think she did, but maybe I ended up telling her about that like a few
Oh, you
months
already
later.
did. You did.
Well,
You told
yeah.
him about it. You told him about it. All right. Okay. All
But
right.
yeah, that was good. Yeah, this is like a cathartic point, right? Like for me to kind of share
We
my
really just started this
secrets.
podcast to air our grievances and work through our shared trauma is really the only, but we had to give it some type of industry spin. So
Exactly. And before I forget, I do want to thank David Abrams and the Hilo team for sponsoring and bringing this podcast to life. And they really helped us with our production, our marketing, and I really am happy for that they helped us bring this to life. So I'm just really grateful for that, and I know you are too.
no, I am. It's been an absolute joy working with them from the very beginning. Them helping us bring this to life from a creative standpoint, really taking the time to inquire as to what it was we wanted to do and then how to capture the creative essence of that, from our branding and our logo and everything was extraordinary. I mean, they legitimized us, I think, before we felt legitimate as well. And so for that, I'm eternally grateful to the Hilo team, just the extraordinary, talented, wonderful people.
Yeah, and I'm still thanking them to this day because we're going to be continuing this podcast, and Hilo will always be a sponsor to us. Hey there, CRE Unplugged fam. We would like to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, the Game Changers over at Hilo, the customer experience platform for buildings that's turning heads in the real estate world.
That's right. Can we talk about how Hilo is transforming the way we manage properties and create unforgettable experiences? Ryan, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about Hilo?
Well, Nadine, it's all about reducing friction in property management. Hilo is like the magic wand that makes everything seamless and efficient. Say goodbye to those time-consuming tasks and hello to streamlined operations and communications.
Efficiency is crucial, but what about personalized experiences? Hilo takes it to the next level with a vision to tailor each interaction to the needs and preferences of its customers.
And let's not forget the community aspect. Hilo builds vibrant, connected communities. It's fostering a sense of belonging and togetherness.
Now, here's something that truly sets Hilo apart: their commitment to advancing ESG initiatives. They're not just about buildings, they're about making a positive impact on the environment. That's a win-win for everyone.
So, to our listeners out there, if you're ready to elevate your properties, digitize and enhance customer experience, and maximize satisfaction, Hilo is the answer. Please visit hiloapp.com for more information. That's hiloapp.com. Quick question, like what do you have a favorite episode that you did or a favorite guest, or
Oh, wow.
give like a political answer and say everyone?
No, I'm not going to give a political answer. No, I do have a few though.
Yeah.
Bob Gillespie, which I think was episode number 2, I think, just because he's just the funniest guy out there. I mean, truly, like Bob, yeah, that was great just for the side splitting laughs. Also, he's brilliant. Lisa Picard, which may have been episode 3 or 4. I mean, that in my world, Lisa's a goat. So she's just brilliant, and her insights are always ahead of our time. And I mean, it's Spencer Levy. I mean, that was extraordinary. Really, I think some of the OGs from the beginning. I mean, but listen, all of them were great. But off the top of my head, I think those are some of the most memorable ones for me, because we had just started out, and we were having amazing, informative, funny, enjoyable conversations with some of the best and brightest in our industry. But of course, I have to give credit. Okay, now I can't say those without saying episode number 1 with our dear friend Molly Eisler, right? Molly's just, so I'd say the early ones are some of my most memorable ones. Because I was like, look, we're doing it, and we've got great people that are coming on to talk with us. So yeah.
I
What about
remember.
you?
Well, I agree. I think those were all great episodes. I definitely cherish the ones where we got to speak with people who were like deep into like the analytics side. Like we talked to Link Logistics.
Matt
I
Rand,
thought,
that was a good one. I
yeah,
learned a lot. Learned a lot from Matt.
with Matt. Yeah, I think that was a great episode, and I think we ended up asking him some like hard hitting, like open and honest, like we were asking him like about I'm forgetting exactly what it was, but he was like very open and real about it, and I really loved that.
Yeah.
And I think that's like kind of like the essence is like, hey, why don't we learn about some insecurities you may have about what you're doing, your work, your everyday. It was imposter syndrome, right? We were asking him about imposter syndrome, and he was speaking about that, and he was very open and honest with him. And so, someone with that kind of background to have those type of insecurities, I think says a lot. And I think a lot of people who listen to this program can kind of resonate with that, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, present company included. And I would wager that a lot of people out there feel the way or go through the way that Matt had the courage to admit. The difference is he put it out there, right? And I think that's why it was such a memorable interview because, he was real and he was honest and raw, and that's what we set out to do. And I mean, it's no secret. You and I have these conversations all the time when we're at conferences or talking to people. And we know that it exists out there, but he put it out there. And for that, I really appreciated that one as well.
Yeah, and we had Josh Hullum, who we both met at our forum, and I loved his take on the development side and how he goes about evaluating deals. He's very tech forward. I learned a lot from him from our forum, and he kind of translated that into our podcast and kind of teaching people how sustainability can make such an impact, and it doesn't need to have such a bad like word into
Yeah.
getting deals done or getting developments done. I think he is revolutionizing it with the way that him and his team are building these industrial and data center assets.
Yeah, it was incredibly eye-opening. And I mean, I can't let this segment of the conversation end without mentioning our incredible collaborative series with Brad Hargraves and
Yes.
specifically the segment Prop Tech Company or Prop Metal Band.
that was definitely one for the record books.
And dishing it out over New York politics and regulations and all that. But yeah, our Brad Hargraves series was pretty special as well. So we got to give some props and thanks to our good friend Brad for joining us and having those really great conversations with us. I think we touched a lot of great current topics and events. And I thought that was some good stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that was great. It's funny because we ended up emceeing for this PropTech competition for NAIOP NYC when I was president in 2024. And that was like the first time we both like met like Brad in person. And I think we kind of really felt like this
Yeah.
energy that we had. And you were like, yeah, we need to try to do something with Brad and get him on the show. And I
Yeah.
thought that was really genius because he's like Mr. Open, Mr. Honest. Like he doesn't leave anything
He's the best.
under. Yeah.
He's brilliant, he's human, he's authentic, he's the real deal. And I think this industry is extraordinarily lucky for having a guy like him be a part of it. So yeah.
Well, I want to get to our industry and how you've always like have this. I think you were trying to figure out during the time I've known you, what your thesis was about commercial real estate and where it's heading, what are some of the things that people need to think about and learn. And you've written this on your newsletter, human-centric. I would love to kind of get your take and dive deeper into this and why you think it's so important for you to speak about this right now.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this a lot. I've been doing a lot of reflecting. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that I've been at this for 20 years. But I've been doing a lot of reflecting because I've made a lot of pivots and moves in the course of this 20 years. I mean, I started out as an attorney. I still am an attorney.
Yes.
But I've made some moves. I took a break from that at one point as well. And I've always had this, I don't know if it's a sixth sense or what, but I've always gravitated towards the human side of any business, whether it's when I was a practicing attorney, or working on the PropTech side of things, when I was with Lease Pilot. And I was very sensitive to the fact that if you can't meet people where they are, and figure out what it is that might be holding them back, from whatever the initiative at hand is, right? Whether you're implementing technology, whether you're trying to get a deal across the line or whatever. I've always been very sensitive to that friction and have always been drawn to wanting to solve it, and not just solve it, but like just make people feel seen along the way. That's always just kind of been my thesis. But when I first started being drawn to that or figuring it out, that's not, this is, we're talking, early 2000s, mid 2000s. That
Yeah.
wasn't the name of the game, right? The name of the game was hustle, and get the job done and don't cry about it, right? I mean, for
Yeah.
all intents and purposes.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And we don't have time to care about people's feelings or whatever. Yeah, what I'm saying.
I
And
do. Yeah.
anybody that said anything to the contrary was viewed as weak, or couldn't cut it, couldn't hack it, couldn't get the job done, right? And I was just very sensitive to the human cost of doing business that way. And but I kind of just had to keep it in my back pocket for a while. But being the sensitive empath that I am, I wasn't always
You're
very good at keeping.
sensitive.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You have found this out. I wasn't always
Yeah.
very good at keeping it in my back pocket. But anyway,
Right. Yeah.
I let it serve as my internal compass, and I let it lead me in making certain professional decisions in my career and jobs that I took. And now you can't turn anywhere without people talking about human centricity, or whether it's, especially as we relate to AI now. I mean, really, the conversation started before AI, after COVID, as we were talking about return to work. How do we get people to want to come back to the office? And, some of the more forward thinking, astute people recognize, like, you can't force people to come back to the office. You got to design a space that makes them want to be there. And so those people recognize that you actually do need to meet people where they are and design for them, and for, psychological safety, and for their needs, and for diverse, diverse types of working, right? And things like that. And that's where it started. But now with AI, completely disrupting the definition of work itself. And as a result of that, we now even have to ask ourselves in deeper, well, gosh, if work's going to be completely redefined, what are the spaces that we need to design? Like, we design for work, right? And so what are those spaces going to need to be? People, and as we talk about AI, and how the human skills are going to be more and more the central focus, it's a bit refreshing, but and I guess I think it's so incredibly critical because of what I just said, right? Work is going to become increasingly, based on human skills, not entirely. And we don't really know yet where this is going to go, but I do think we can say pretty safely that a lot of the more, you know, skill-based type of jobs, manual data entry, things like that are going to be kind of go by the wayside. So I think it's really important to get it right. Otherwise, we're just going to be perpetuating more of the same in a time where things are going to be moving faster than they ever
Yeah.
have. Right.
Yeah.
And that just feels a little bit like a runaway train, right? And so I think we've got an opportunity, and I'm very optimistic now. I think we got a lot of people that have awakened to this, that are taking it very seriously, and so I feel pretty optimistic for the first time in a long time. I have concerns about other things, but when it comes to that, I feel like we got folks waking up to it, wanting to do right by it. So yeah.
There's so much I want to unpack with this. First is I was just reading an article by Dror Poleg, who we both love, and he was talking about how there's now like this thin line between leisure and work, and people don't really know that they're working when they're actually resting. It's like pretty incredible stuff that he's writing about that, and I 100% agree. And then he was like one of the pioneers talking about how the office was going to change and how you need to make it more of a hospitality driven market. Same with the multifamily, right? Like that's the whole thing. Like you need to service the people who are actually going to be working and living in these assets. And I know that's something that you've preached about and talked about, and I completely agree with you on that end. And I think in terms of AI or any type of technology, because I've lived this where yes, you bring in the tech, you're really happy that you're going to be implementing this and it's going to be great for your team, but if you're not providing the right training or you're not really hand holding and kind of being there for the people who are actually going to be using it, it's pointless. And this isn't something I just recently heard about this in a group that I'm part of, about how they end up using this product, but then what they want to then change, the founders want to change the product, and then they're not really focusing back with their customers anymore.
Mm-hmm,
And there's all
mm-hmm,
these
mm-hmm.
they're trying to reach the company about how they're having issues with the actual like platform and how they can get this fixed, but the founders are kind of focused on how they could change the product or do something different. And that's exactly what I think you're trying to explain is no, why don't you think about the people who are using it, and then from there you could think about ways that you could improve upon your platform, right?
I'm
Like
so glad you've lived through this a million times with your work. Yeah. It's a product. It's a tool. I am getting a little sick of it. It's a tool line as well. I know a lot of people are, but for that very reason,
yeah,
right? It's brought in to make more efficient, make faster some part of a task that is being done by people today, right? And it's foolish for you to think that you can just flip a switch without the necessary support of people that are part of that process, right? And I think that's the problem. Founders or when they don't look at the entire life cycle or process, right, that the tool is going to fit into, right? They just kind of focus on what its value proposition is, so to speak, and
yeah.
forget like it's not going to replace the entire process. There will still be human touch points in that process, and we hear a lot about this today with AI, right? The human touch points in a process, human oversight, et cetera. But anyway, it's interesting. I heard something once, and I know you're going to laugh at me now. But they say an artist, once you put your art out into the world, it's no longer yours. It's now subject to, public comment and whatnot. And I think the same holds true for PropTech or any technology for that matter. Once you put your product out there for use and consumption by people, you have to take the feedback of the people using it. You can't continue
Right.
to design it for what you think it should be doing. You're not the end user. You have to design for the end user, just as design for the user like we just talked about people in spaces. They're the ones that are using and occupying that space. So yeah. Yeah.
It sounds so simple, but it's amazing how many times you hear stories of them not thinking about the user.
And it's easy to get stuck in that trap. I will say, I mean, I've worked inside of a startup, a tech
Right.
startup. It's very, it can consume you. It's very easy to get, to be, consumed by the product itself. It's a fine line. It's a balance, right? And I think some of the companies that are doing it best, are those that recognize that you do need to invest in customer success, which is different than customer service. Customer service is responsive. Customer success is proactive. I was lucky enough to serve in that role.
Yeah, you
Those are
know
the,
it best.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a really, but yeah, I have to tell you, it was not an easy job. It's actually a very hard job because you do have to have one foot with the end user, right? And understanding their needs and their concerns and their friction points. And then you need to go back internally and advocate for them with product and with, sales and all of that. And so you're at this nexus point, you're this central point, and some people are kind of pulling you this way, some people are kind of pulling you this way and that way. And it's a really hard job, but it's a very, very important job. I was just having this conversation with an AI startup founder a few weeks ago. And he was saying, they've invested in customer success. They realized the important nature of it. But he was saying, it's tough. It's really, and I'm like, as it should be. It is a very difficult job. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, well, Hilo, that's what they always talk about is how their focus on the customer and uh, meeting the customer needs. When I worked at my previous company, they were always available whenever there was questions that we had about the platform and how we could make it better and how we could improve on it, or they were giving us input on what we can do to get more engagement from our tenants. So I think that's the way to go, and I think that only can lead to more success. And it's something so simple that isn't really talked about as much as you may think. And it really is important because the minute you lose the momentum from your customer, I think like that is like the beginning of the end of them wanting to renew their contract. Or even if you're, let's say you've given them a pilot and you're not being on top of them, I think that also is a sign that they're probably not going to want to sign a contract with you because they don't know if you're going to be able to hold their hand or answer anything that they may need regarding that. So I hope that more companies realize the abundance of this issue.
I think you hit it on the head, Ryan. And we saw this firsthand at Lease Pilot. I mean, we were very early stage. Product was still very in its very early stages, and we were still learning. But I'll be damned, we were always answering people's calls. We were getting on Zooms with them. We were very proactive, and we were told over and over again, the reason that we renewed, even though the product was not necessarily where we wanted it to be yet, was because of this service. I mean, think about like the service industry, right? You go to a restaurant,
Yeah.
maybe, the food's okay, it's not so great, but they make you feel seen from the second you walk in. You get the best service, you have the best time. You're probably more likely to go back there than another place that's got, better food, but just terrible atmosphere and terrible service.
That's really funny because my brother-in-laws, they're steak fanatics and they love Peter Luger's. But the last
Yeah.
time the Peter Luger's, the waiters were very disrespectful for them, and they're like, "We're never going again." And I think part of the reason why, and I think this is a model that they probably maybe should change, but they probably won't because it's an institution that goes back years and years and years, is the waiters have like tenure or like they have a lot of power, and people actually will like waiters will pay them to have like their shifts. Like it's a very prestigious honor
I
to
didn't
be a
know that.
Peter Luger's. And I think that's now affecting their customer service because they know they'll never get
It's
fired
so
no matter what
interesting.
they do. Yeah.
It's like old, crusty, tenured professors,
Right. There's
right?
probably,
They're like, I'm tenured. Like, what would I give a shit? Yeah. Right.
what
I
are we
didn't
going to
know
learn
that.
today?
I didn't know that, but that's a really good analogy. It is, right? But it's like, oh, back to the service. It is. And I think that's what can be challenging about the technology industry, whether it's prop tech or anything else, right? Because so much goes into building the tech and the product, but at the end of the day, we're selling it to people to use. So it's what I've always found fascinating about it.
Yeah, and like something that you also mentioned in your newsletter is like how we need a different type of leader. Like I think in order to run an effective company, you need to have like the operational side and the human side at the concurrent of each other. Um, like, would love to kind of hear like what you mean by that.
Oh yeah, and I can't take credit for this. I mean, people have been saying this forever. Lisa Picard went into this at great length in her interview with us. And I've seen a lot of this more, but as you know, with our industry, the past, we went through a period of time where capital was cheap. And so the barrier to entry into becoming a real estate owner or operator was pretty low. We had a lot of people coming in and buying assets, and essentially their, job was to collect 12 checks out of the year. And that was it. And to just do the basic maintenance and upkeep and whatnot. And that was it. Nobody cared about what it felt like to come into the office or whatever, because they didn't have to. This was pre-COVID. People had to go to the office. People were going to shop or whatever. And as that changes now, and we've talked about this with a lot of folks. Real estate was operated within spreadsheets, right?
Yeah.
That was the bottom line. Did the numbers add up? Did everything look good within a model or within a spreadsheet? Well, that meant that you were a good, successful operator. And now, that's shifting wildly. Not only are leaders having to focus on, the occupants, right, of their buildings. We talk about this a lot, experience and all that. We
Yeah.
talk about CBRE and setting up their new division, that's head by Jamie Hidari of Industrious, and now our former guest as well, Anna Squires Levine. Hospitality and experience have become table stakes. Not only if you're an operator, but if you're an employer as well, right? Employees' expectations have changed of their employers as well. So we don't even have to talk about real estate, just the workforce in general. So it's going to require a leader that I think can appreciate not only the quantitative success metrics, right, but the qualitative as well. If you're an employer, do people want to work for you? What do they say about working for you? Do they feel like they can bring the best version of their self to work? So to speak, if you're an owner or an operator or whatever, same thing. Do people want to come to your asset? Do they want to stay in your asset? Do they want to spend money in your asset? Whatever. And that requires focusing on, human needs, right? Whether that's to experience joy or to be in a space where I do my best work, and not just, be stuffed into a bunch of cubicles and whatnot. So again, it's a balance. It all comes back to a balance. And it requires a leader that sees value in the qualitative side of the human experience as well, and doesn't just kind of dismiss it as frivolous or unnecessary, or the unneeded soft skills like they used to be called so often. You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
Yeah. I want to kind of take a different take about this, because I think what's happening right now, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think what's going on, and I'm seeing this a lot on social media and other podcasts that I listen to, is I think the rise of fractional titles and fractional work, because I think a lot of people who are working at these companies, they probably weren't under a great leader that you have laid out. And I think now they're kind of open to working on their own and kind of having that freedom of being able to do many different kinds of work than just working for one company.
That's a really good take. I mean, I'm sitting here as like an example of it. I have like 4 different verticals of my
Right.
business that I
Exactly.
work
Yeah.
on, right?
You're like the spotlight for that, right?
I don't know if I feel attacked by you or what right now. No, I'm
No.
joking. No, I'm joking. I'm
Yeah.
joking. I think that's a very astute take. I think you're absolutely right. You and I know a lot of these types of people, right?
Right.
But not only that, whether it was disagreement with leadership styles, or, you know, in my case, historically, in one of my, a lot of people feel limited, right? Because they
Yeah.
see problems and they know what the solutions are, and they're just limited, whether it's by resources or whether it's by leadership, that they can't execute and go after what it is that they know can be done to make a difference. So they just end up leaving. I mean, you and I know a lot of people like that just become frustrated because they just feel like they're spinning the wheel. So whatever it is, I totally agree with you. People feel like they're spinning their wheels and they're like, the hell with it. I'm just going to go do my own thing. I find this whole fractional thing very fascinating. But also because it's such an unpredictable time right now, especially in the capital market. So, with a lot of
Right.
organizations, it's easier to bring in a fractional executive for say 12, 18, 24 months, instead of invest in somebody, full time or whatnot. So yeah.
Well, maybe that is a model that's gonna probably take on its own path or continue being successful, because the people who end up going with those type of roles feel more empowered and feel more motivated to get things done.
Yeah, I also think it's going to be very interesting to see as the nature of work itself continues to evolve, right? Our leaders, our hiring managers, are they going to wait until the dust settles, so to speak, and we have a sense of what the jobs are that need to be filled, right? Are they going to wait to see
Yeah.
what jobs are going to be automated away, so to speak, by AI, and what the newer roles are going to be that emerge, and until then just kind of exist, um, by relying on certain fractional leaders? I don't know. I absolutely don't know.
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point. I think you're going to see a lot of AI fractional, like compliance officers or operation officers, or
You already do. They're
yeah,
already,
yeah,
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 already
yeah,
out there.
exactly. So I think those are going to take its own life of its own, and you're probably then it's going to trickle down to other roles underneath that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing right now. I mean, because the rate at which AI is evolving is just so unprecedented that organizations that still need to operate doing their day-to-day business, a lot, not all of them, but a good portion of them just can't keep up, right? What the job
Yeah.
description of, let's just say, that AI executive would have been one day is completely different, say 1 month, 2 months down the road. Um, so super fascinating.
Well, you do a lot of AI workshops, and you're also one of the partners of the CRE AI Studio. Like, what are you seeing right now, and how AI is impacting real estate, other than like the noise and the sound that's being discussed around us?
A couple of things that I'm seeing, in no particular order. Um, a lot of companies, and they're not shy to admit this, are focusing more on evaluating business use cases, which as they should be, but haven't really been focusing. And this isn't true for all of them, but I'd say I would wager for a lot of them, they're not really focused on structured training for their people, right? So they're out there, they got AI committees and they're evaluating platforms and they're evaluating use cases and whatnot, but there really is no structured training for their people internally. So people are just kind of left to, experiment on their own or whatnot. That one actually still really baffles me. And I don't know why you wouldn't. And I think really people need to start investing in upskilling their people right now. You may not necessarily know what the end game to that upskilling is going to be. Like if your job is, A today, I know it might be too early to predict what that job's going to evolve into, but have a structured approach for training your people. That still surprises me a lot. And again, it's not all companies, but it's more than I would expect. I see brokerage is just running with it, right? Prospecting
Yeah,
is huge. I mean, prospecting is huge, really, for any job as it relates to
yeah,
brokerage. Site selection, is another big use case that I see used really well. Starting to see a lot of people working with agents. I mean, true agents that are able to take multi-step workflows and exercise them, autonomously on their own and whatnot. Um, it's been fascinating to see Claude kind of emerge as this, almost, I mean, you could really use Claude as a central dashboard, command center. That's what I'm looking for, command center, so
Yeah.
to speak. It's really been fascinating to see Claude and what it's been doing. I mean, and I'm not paid by Claude to say that. I just happen to be a heavy Claude user. And so I can't tell quite yet. Oh, and in the universities, we have a lot of conversations in the studio with universities and their real estate curriculums and programs. And it's not easy or something that's fast to update a curriculum. That's not something that happens
Yeah.
overnight. So universities are looking to partner with outside partners and resources as well to get up to date and evolving information to their students. So yeah, I mean, everybody, I say 2026, I think it's getting a little quieter. And I think that means that companies are becoming more serious and heads down now. More companies are getting their enterprise subscriptions, whether it be to Claude or ChatGPT or whatever it is. You see more AI committees being rolled out, but not just from an exploratory sense, but actually, getting a couple successful use cases rolling and things like that. So I think the second half of 2026 is going to be very interesting to see where we land as an industry in terms of commercial real estate. And then, of course, everybody recognizes that data is king or queen, right?
Yeah.
And if your data isn't ready, then you're just automating slop, so to speak. So yeah,
Yeah, I think data has always been like the number one.
always.
Yeah, number one like item that needs to get in place, like structured for it
Yeah.
to. We were talking to Susan Garak a lot about this in
Yes.
that episode, and
Yes.
she really honed down on how important it was, and then it was able to then cater better to their tenants.
Yeah.
But it's so funny again that you're bringing up all these points because like I remember listening to I'm forgetting his name on top of my head, but he's our dear friend from BXB, and he was saying how they had to do a uh, soft layout of Copilot before they gave it to all their employees because they wanted to make sure that it will be done like effectively.
Hmm.
And now like the talk is, all right, now we want to give Claude Enterprise to all of our employees, but it's expensive. Like, how can we um, cover the costs and make it useful for
Right. The
everyone?
headlines these last few days have all been about token usage on an
Yeah,
enterprise
yeah,
scale, right?
exactly.
And how that has now, become a line item, right, within organizations. Because if you're, engaging in these enterprise platforms, it's based on token usage and whatnot. And so it's wild. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then to go deeper about that with like the token usages, I don't know. I think you'll be surprised. I think that a lot of these like large companies, like even though they understand the gravity of what AI can do for you, you're still seeing a lot of their employees not really buying in fully into it, and they're just more comfortable doing the work that they've been doing it for the past like 5 to 10 years, and they probably rarely use Claude every day, or they're just using it every other day, or they're using Copilot like once a week. I think they just feel more comfortable using the tools that they've had to do their work. So are we going to see this huge push in 3 months once the talk becomes stronger and louder? I really
I
don't
don't
know.
I don't know as it relates to our industry, to be honest with you. Seriously, I don't know. Um, I'm not surprised that there's still a lot of people doing jobs the old way because you got to get the job done, and learning to do it in a different way takes time. There's a lot of friction points. It's frustrating. And then you just get to that point where you're like, well, just F it. I'm just gonna do it the old way because I just got to get this out the door. Right. And that's why
Yeah.
it's so important where if you want to be a quote unquote AI first company, right? This has to be an all-in initiative. It's not, and we've talked about this ad nauseum. It's not just
Yeah.
about flipping the switch on and giving people access to a platform and say, okay, now we're AI first, right? It's got to be top down, bottom up, side to side. You got to give people the space to experiment. You almost have to, I don't want to say mandate it. I hate the word mandate, but like I was talking to one very prominent portfolio owner out of Boston the other day, and I was really impressed with the way they're handling their AI committee. They people have access to different tools. They're encouraged to experiment, but they've got a contest going on now internally where people are encouraged to figure out a different way of doing, part of their job or whatever using AI. The committee judges, and the winner gets $500. Like that to me is a really great way of getting your entire organization bought in a fun way. It unlocks people's creativity. There's no wrong, right? They're like, come on, like let me see what you got. They're like, let us see what you got. Come on. Like, I love that. Right. I love that. So you got to
Just
incent.
$500?
I know. Well, come on. You know our industry, how cheap it can
Yeah.
be, man. I was actually impressed that they are actually giving up 500. Back in
If
the
you
day when you
said
and I were starting out with
5,000, that I would be like, yeah, okay, let's go. But 500.
what company in our industry do you know is going to give $5,000 prize to an
No,
employee? Just, I mean,
no, you're
hey,
right. You're right.
I'm
I mean,
teasing. I'm teasing, but it's a lot more than most companies are doing to incentivize. And that's what it is. It's that incentive. People have to be incentivized to stop and change the way that they're doing things. So yeah.
yeah, I'm really excited to see where all of this is going to go. I've got two more things I really wanted to touch on with you. Is like you're born and raised in Canton, Ohio. You're a Midwesterner at heart. You're living there now. Like, can you like talk to me about what's going on over there? And like, you wrote about like how there's this migration happening in the Midwest. Why is that happening, and what do you think is going to happen in the next like few years?
Yeah, it's actually, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's a pretty exciting time to be out here in the Midwest and the Great Lakes region.
Yeah.
But yes, I am well, if you were to actually to come out here, Ryan, in Northeast Ohio, where I am, they don't they don't want to be called the Midwest. It's the Great Lakes region. So we like to be
Okay.
called the Great Lakes
Great
region.
Lake.
But yes,
Okay.
yeah. And we're still nursing our law, are being swept by the Knicks out here
Yeah,
as
I
well.
wasn't
So
going to bring that up, but yeah,
oh, why didn't you? I would have brought it up if we beat the Knicks. But
yeah,
anyway,
that's true. That was it. I'm still in
listen,
disbelief by all of it.
I'm not. It's par for the course for being a Cleveland sports fan. I'm not. Anyway, it's very interesting what's going on out here, Ryan. So, and what's interesting is that I've kind of personally lived this myself. So, as you know, I left Cleveland back in 2018 and I moved to Boston to follow, professional opportunities for a new job and career. And yeah, I was completely shocked by the cost of living difference between being, on the East Coast and the Midwest. That being said, there was a lot of trade-offs, right? Access to professional opportunities and jobs, and all of that. It was amazing.
Right.
But and I have to weave in my personal story to this because it gets into a little bit, but why came back and why I'm appreciating what's happening here right now, because it falls into a lot of the reasons that we're seeing being written about. I then went out on my own after and started my own business, my own firm, my own what I'm operating now, Ezzie and Co. I don't have children, and so I don't have this sense of responsibility of where I need to be. But the cost of living really, really became prohibitive for me on the East Coast as I was trying to get to stabilize things, getting my firm off the ground. And so I started spending more time out here back home for family reasons as well, as you know. But there's this sense of relief where after you are living in such an expensive town, like a Boston, like a New York, like a San Francisco or whatever,
Yeah.
it really does become a noose around your neck, man, or like a ball and chain around your ankle when you're trying to get other things going, right? And so it was like a relief to come back as it relates to the cost of living. Like, and I just felt this capacity and space opening up for me to worry less about how I was going to make rent and focus more on actually, building my business or whatever it was. And then, it's a 90-minute flight from Cleveland to Boston, and it's a 75-minute flight to New York from here to New York City. So I now joke that I commute, which I do. Anytime I haven't left the East Coast, I still fly back whenever I need to and stay. And so I curated a life for myself where I can reap the benefits of the ease of living here. I'm back near family. Cost of living is extraordinary. You wouldn't believe when you see the bill when you go out to eat, Ryan. All right. You look at it and you think a mistake's been made out here. All right.
Right.
Like, I know. Anyway, and a lot of people are starting to look for the same thing, right? They're starting to feel the pinch, the stress of the cost of living in any of these big towns. The economy isn't what it was. Cost of living is rising as their cost of housing.
Yeah.
And people are
The
looking to get
median
more.
rent in New York is $5,800 a month.
It's insane. It's insane. So anyway, I'll cut this short. So I didn't come back here voluntarily. I came back here to tend to some family issues. But while I was here, I was like, wait a minute, this is actually kind of nice. Anytime I want to hop on a flight and I'm on the East Coast, I could do a day of meetings and be back at night. I do it a lot. I'm being serious. So anyway, and so about 18 months ago, I was like, I don't know, maybe I just kind of stay out here and I commute to the East Coast as need be. Well, data is starting to catch up, and a lot of people are starting to be priced out, not only of the East Coast, but the Sun Belt region as well. For the cost of living is going up. Home insurance rates are skyrocketing because of climate change, whether it's flooding or hurricanes or fires or whatever. People can't get mortgages anymore that they can afford. So they're looking for places where they can afford. Where is a nice place to raise my family? And where is my house probably not going to burn down because of wildfires or because of flooding? And, model forecasts are indicating the Great Lakes region, specifically Canton, which is my hometown, Akron, Cleveland, and Detroit, for the second or third quarter in a row recently. I think the Wall Street Journal and the Realtor.com top 20 housing markets was released a few weeks ago. Canton, Ohio, I believe was number 2 or 3, which still shocks me. I cannot so anyway.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing a lot of outside investment coming in. People are looking to build more affordable housing, middle market housing, and it's wild. People are getting ready for it out here. They're anticipating it, as well as there's a lot of people trying to get technology out here as well. The Ohio Fund is a fund that invests specifically in Ohio tech startups, data centers. I mean, we got a lot of data centers coming up here as well in Ohio, given the access to the Great Lakes and whatnot. So it is, it's a very interesting time. So check in with me in a couple of years and I'll let you know if all of these predictions come to fruition. But for now, I'm going to enjoy being able to go out to eat and have a couple of drinks for $50.
It seems like you're living at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. If only our sports teams could not let me down so much, but
Well,
the Red Sox are in town this Friday.
7 years. So
no, I said that to my mom, who's the biggest Cavs. I was like, Mom, they haven't won since in 27 years. It's fine. It's fine. And the Red Sox are playing the Guardians this Friday. So I'll go up to Cleveland and catch a game. It's all good. I get to catch my teams.
Yeah. Well, sports has been really a big part of my life. And I actually stopped rooting for the Knicks at a point because I just couldn't handle their management decision.
I know this about you. I know. Really so bad. You must be very happy.
Yeah, I'm happy, and I'm also happy for my brother, who's a huge sports fan, and my nephew Mason, he's a diehard. So
yeah,
as long as my family's happy, I'm happy.
Listen, I love New York City. It's like another home to me, so I'm happy. I'm happy for all you Knicks fans. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're basically a super commuter. I remember watching the news one day, and there was a woman. She was a hairdresser out in North Carolina, and she would super commute. She was a hairdresser in New York, so she would super commute, take a flight to New York. She had her customers. She would do her business, and then she would super commute back to North Carolina because it was so much cheaper to live there. So
I didn't realize there was a term for it, but yeah. I have become a super commuter. Truly, I do. I drive to the airport, park my car, get on a 7 a.m. flight to the East Coast, stay a couple days, and I come back, and it's amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, you're
Here's to
like
the
a
supercomputers.
freaking flyer over here.
Yeah, so my goal now is to be able to fly Delta One. I'm not there yet, but we'll look. I look forward to that. So yeah,
Well, don't forget about me when
I
you
never could forget about you.
when you have an extra seat that you could bring me on as
I'll
with your
never
Delta
forget.
One
Can you
pass.
imagine you and I flying in Delta One? Oh my God. We'd be like, did you see this? Do you see this?
Yeah, that's the dream, right?
No, but Ryan, doing this podcast with you has been an absolute highlight. And it is incredibly bittersweet to have to say goodbye, but I've got other things that I need to be working on. And so, had to have to move on to those things. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm, it's not goodbye because of course I'll see you around everywhere, but I really want to thank you for being my partner in all of this, bringing this idea that we had into, it was ideation to creation, and like being like my ride or die, I like with everything, and I'm like so lucky to have had you like by my side while we went through this like beautiful journey together.
Right back at you. All right, back at I mean, you only had one child when we started this, and now there's two. I'm serious.
Yeah, you're right.
So no, right back at you. This was great. It's the conversations we've had. Keep it going, Ryan. You're killing it. You're doing such an awesome job. I look forward to coming back and visiting
Yes,
and seeing you
100%.
out there. And when I super commute to New York, obviously, you can't get rid of me. So yeah,
Yeah, well, we'll find a podcast studio and maybe we'll record another few episodes down the line. I would love that.
I would too, man. I would too. Keep it going. You're doing an amazing job.
Yeah, well, Nadine, thank you so much. To our listeners, where can they find you, and where can they reach out?
Yeah. Oh, well, my website is ezzyco.com. You can find everything that I'm up to there, or shoot me an email, Nadine@ezzyco.com. A lot of exciting stuff happening. I'm very fortunate to do a lot of speaking engagements. I'm going to be doing a lot more with the Built on People newsletter, and I'm going to be, believe it or not, focusing a lot more on the practice of law going forward. That's going to be taking up a very, very large part of a lot of the things that I'll be doing, but very exciting cutting edge things that I get to work on. So stay tuned. So thanks, Ryan.
All right, no, thank you. Really appreciate it, and really thank you for everything.
Can I give the final sign off to
Yes, yeah,
to the listeners? All
yeah.
right. All right. And to all you listeners, keep your conversations real and unplugged.